Cincinnati was not supposed to feel like this. This is a WTA 1000 event, one stop among many on the hard-court swing, the kind of tournament where the crowds are polite and the biggest noise comes from a well-timed ace. Instead, the Lindner Family Tennis Center sounds like a homecoming. And the person most stunned by it might be a five-time Grand Slam champion who has seen just about everything tennis can offer. Maria Sharapova was in the stands in Cincinnati, and what she witnessed left her shaking her head. Rows of Philippine flags, chants that would not stop, a ticket rush so intense that tournament director Bob Moran openly admitted he had never seen anything like it for a player outside the top 10. The reason for all of it is one 21-year-old from the Philippines named Alex Eala, and right now she might be the most talked-about story in tennis. This did not start in Cincinnati. It started in Toronto, at the National Bank Open, where Filipino fans packed the stands for every one of her matches, turning a routine hard-court tournament into something closer to a festival. Families drove in from across Ontario, some flew in from the United States, and when her place in the Cincinnati draw was confirmed days later, the same wave followed her south. It is worth pausing on why that matters. The Filipino diaspora is enormous, spread across the United States, Canada, the Middle East, and beyond, and until recently, tennis had never given them a single star of their own to rally behind. Basketball, boxing, even volleyball had their icons. Tennis did not, until now, and the response has been overwhelming, with fans showing up in replica shirts, treating her practice sessions like main events. Andy Roddick has been watching the whole thing unfold and has openly joked about calling it Eala-mania, pointing out that watch parties for her matches have been popping up back home for something as routine as a fourth-round match. Greg Rusedski went further, comparing the pull of her fan base to peak Serena Williams. These are not casual observations from casual observers. These are people who spent their careers around packed stadiums, and they are telling you this is different. Sharapova's connection to this story runs deeper than a single afternoon in the stands. Weeks earlier, after Eala pulled off the biggest win of her career, a stunning upset over defending champion Iga Swiatek to reach the fourth round at Wimbledon, Sharapova left a short comment on the tournament's social media post. Just one word. A star. For Eala, who grew up idolizing Sharapova, that single word meant everything. She later said that Sharapova recognizing her was proof she had truly arrived, a small moment that carried enormous weight for a young player who had once been an unranked wildcard. Now Sharapova is seeing the fallout of that rise in person, and by most accounts, she was not prepared for the scale of it. This is someone who was a global phenomenon herself as a teenager. She knows exactly what it looks like when a sport finds a crossover star, and what she is watching in Cincinnati has apparently caught even her off guard. The tennis itself backs up the hype. Eala arrives in Cincinnati seeded 17th, the highest seeding of her career at a WTA 1000 event, and that seeding earns her a bye straight into the second round. Her path from there is brutal. A potential clash with Magda Linette, then Amanda Anisimova, then Wimbledon finalist Linda Noskova, and further down the road, a possible meeting with Jessica Pegula, the very player Eala beat in the final to win her first WTA title back in Washington. It is a murderer's row of a draw, and almost nobody outside the Philippines expected her to be seeded this high just a year ago. Cincinnati also matters because of what comes next. This is Eala's last major tune-up before the US Open, a tournament she was forced to skip last year with a shoulder injury. For a player who has already climbed to a career-high ranking near the top 20, hard-court form heading into Flushing Meadows is everything, and the support she is getting right now could not be better timed. What is happening around Eala is bigger than one tournament. She has become the first Filipino player, man or woman, to reach the second week of a Grand Slam. She has been featured on the cover of nearly every major magazine in the Philippines. Coco Gauff has said publicly that she likes what Eala brings to the tour, a completely new audience that the sport has never tapped into before. Jessica Pegula referenced her impact during a runner-up speech earlier this summer. Danielle Collins has praised how comfortable Eala seems in her own skin. When your peers start bringing you up unprompted, that usually means something real is happening. Roddick summed up the bigger picture well. If one player can bring hundreds of millions of new eyes to tennis, everyone in the sport should be cheering for it. Women's tennis has historically been dominated by players from North America and Europe. Asia has produced very few top-tier singles stars, and the Philippines had never produced one at all until Eala came along. She has changed that outright, And she has done it while speaking proudly in Tagalog during interviews and never distancing herself from where she came from. Go back to where this all started and the story gets even better. Eala picked up a racket at 4 years old. She trained through the Rafa Nadal Academy, where, in one of those details that sounds made up but is not, it was Iga Swiatek herself who once handed Eala her graduation certificate. Years later, Eala would beat that same Swiatek not once but twice on the biggest stages in the sport, first in Miami and then on center court at Wimbledon. In between, she won her first junior Grand Slam, then became the first Filipina to win a main draw match at the US Open, then broke through with her first WTA Tour title this summer in Washington. Talk to people around the tour, and the explanation keeps coming back to the same idea. It is not only that Eala wins, though the resume of upsets speaks for itself. It is how she carries herself while doing it, unbothered by the noise, visibly grateful, never too big to acknowledge fans who travel hours just to watch her warm up. That combination, a genuine underdog story paired with a community that has waited decades for exactly this, is what turns a good tennis player into a movement. So when Maria Sharapova stands in the crowd at Cincinnati and finds herself stunned by what she is seeing, it is not an overreaction. It is one legend recognizing another moment in the making. The flags, the chants, the packed sections for a 17 seed who was ranked outside the top 100 barely 2 years ago, all of it points to the same thing. Tennis has found a genuine crossover star, and the Philippines, a country of well over 100 million people that had waited generations for a singles champion, is not going anywhere anytime soon. Whatever happens over the rest of this tournament, the Eala effect is already reshaping who shows up to watch women's tennis, and by every sign coming out of Cincinnati this week, that shift is only just getting started.